What's up, y'all? Patch here with my trusty sidekick, Knucklehead. Actually, I think I'm the sidekick. What's up, man? I just want to give you guys a little update on where we're at, what we're doing, what we've been up to, and actually how we got here. It's kind of taken I've seen God at work a year and a half ago in what we're doing right now. So let's get to it.
Work, sleep, play. Work, sleep, play. Remember, every dog has its day. Hit the road, share the love. Rock that throttle till your hair stands up.
So if you guys don't follow along on our Facebook or Instagram, we are actually in Pennsylvania, beautiful Lancaster. You can tell we found a quiet river spot like we always do in the middle of the woods, even though we're in the city. It's just a special gift we have. And how we got here is kind of a crazy adventure in itself. And it all started a year and a half ago. I got this idea as we were riding the Blue Ridge Parkway, me and him, with nothing but a tent. We did all the Blue Ridge Parkway, went up to West Virginia, rode on a closed racetrack, and raised some money for Top Dog competition that they're doing up there, the Rally for Vets, which is also part of the American Legion. I think they raised money for the Be the One campaign. But anyway, we were up there actually on the way back, and I was like, man, how can we raise a little bit of more money? Just a single dude and a dog. So God gave me the idea of doing this win-a-date. And that was the end of 23, right after we got our new motorcycle that you see us on now, the Pan America. Where you going? We don't want to see that. But anyway, yeah, there you go. That's a good spot, right? We won't cut that. Anyway, we did that at the end of the 23, and on the way back I got the idea to do a win-a-date. We didn't have time to get it in works that year because I didn't have a 501c3 and I didn't have one that I can trust that I wanted to help benefit. So last year, towards the end, we got with GI Garage and we started the win-a-date. Who won that? Her name's Arlene, and her husband are in New Jersey, and we were supposed to meet. Oh man, there's a big old giant trout. Nuck sees it too. Squirrel, trout. Anyway, Arlene won it, and so we were heading up to New Jersey to meet her and her husband for the win-a-date, and God started working in that, so we decided to make a trip out of it and call it the Summer of Love Tour. I share my testimony all different areas. Tonight I'm speaking at Celebrate Recovery. Tomorrow I'm going into a recovery house to share my testimony there. So God started working all that together and started making all these stops come together real quick. And it was like, okay, well, cool. We can do this as long as we, plan it out and have everything together. So it came time to get ready to leave. And about a week before we got ready to leave, a friend of mine calls and says, hey, do you know Brian Head Welch from Korn? And I said, absolutely. I read his book when I was in jail in 2010, and his book helped my recovery walk and what we do now with Knuckleheaded Adventures. So I definitely know the dude. And he said, hey, well, he's speaking at a men's conference. We need somebody to share a little testimony ahead of him and help open the floor up. And I was like, what are you calling me for? He's like, well, we want you to come. I was like, wait, what? We seen you were going to be in the area, and it just works out perfect timing to do that. Well, in order to do that, I would have to bump Arlene, who is the whole reason we started the whole trip for the win-a-date. I would have to bump her back because it was the same day, and we just couldn't make it work. And I told her I'd try to come up later in the week, or, God, if we can work it out. But I didn't want to miss this opportunity. And I'm glad I didn't. Man. So I started getting ready for this trip. I spent all our money on merch. Again, like I did for Bike Week. But I knew we were going to different events where I could make the money back. These would be actual events that people would be at. So I wasn't worried about that. But then I got ready to leave, and I look at my bank account, and I had like $90 in there. And I was like, what the heck am I doing? That was like just enough fuel to get what I had in the truck, plus what we needed to get from Tennessee to Greensburg, Indiana to speak. And I was praying the whole time. I was like, God, you're going to have to do something. This is crazy. Who leaves for a month-long trip, with 2,500 miles, with $90 to their name? We do, right? And that's literally the blind faith and adventure that I left out on last Friday. And before I could leave, a lady who I think she watches our YouTube a little bit but doesn't really follow us on Facebook came into my mom's quilt shop and pretty much prophesized over our trip and said, God told me that you guys are going to do great things. You're going to spread a lot of love this summer, and you're about to embark on a great adventure. And I said, do you know what I'm literally packing for right now? And she's like, no. I said, I'm leaving. I'm supposed to be leaving yesterday, but we were like 2 days late and literally $1 short. I said, I'm leaving for this Summer of Love tour. And man, it was a first prophecy that happened by 3 different people in 3 different days in 3 different states over this trip of what we're doing. And each one were by people that don't follow us on a regular. I mean, 2 of them were people that just met us. And it was, each one has been what I needed for the following day, because the following day was going to be even harder for the first couple days. And then, so I made it to Indiana with the $90, and I was like, God, you got to get us to the next stop. And he gave us enough fuel money at the first stop to get, almost our whole entire trip done on one stop, the first stop. And I was like, okay, God, you're all over this thing. The speaking event went well. It was a good night. But I had to get in the truck, and my buddy Chris Clem was with me, and we drove from Greensburg, Indiana, all the way to Ohio, Youngstown, Ohio, and I had to set all my stuff up and be ready to open at I needed to be ready by 7:30 the next morning. And it was like, all right, God, this is go time. This is the hardest leg of the trip. As long as we can make it here, I can go to this men's conference and I can meet Brian Welch and I can open for this guy and I can, share with him a little bit. I knew I needed to be there at the conference. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, our freaking trailer axle broke. I didn't notice it at first, I guess. And when I did notice it, we were 10 minutes up the road from the hotel. And I was like, well, we'll just cruise into the hotel real easy. And when we get there, and literally there's no wheel and rubber it almost caught on fire. It was crazy. And it was like, all right, we don't have time for this. I got to get some sleep. That's not what's important right now. Getting to this conference. He made us to town. So the next morning, some friends came, Roy and his dad, and they rescued us and threw all our merch in their truck, and we ran over to the men's conference, and I set it all up as fast as I could, and I got a little nap in, and then I spoke, and that was really good, and God worked on stage. But then, man, he showed up in a back room, a little bitty back room, through an Uber driver, and a crazy world famous rocker and some crazy bikers and another musician, and it was so small and perfect and anointing, and it was it was what I needed for this trip. And especially right after the trailer catch on fire almost, you know. And it was like, what the heck am I going to do? And sorry. In that back room, God was like, don't worry about your merch, whatever, I got you this far, let's keep going. So Knucklehead and I jumped on the motorcycle because we had to be in DC the next morning we needed to be there at 6 o'clock and in DC from Youngstown, Ohio. So we threw what clothes I needed to go to DC and the next 2 events in the bike really quick and hauled butt, got a hotel, slept for a couple hours, went and did an awesome ride. Patriot Harley Davidson did a great job putting it on where we started at, and then we went to the Pentagon, and the AMVETs did a great job. I was really disappointed at the turnout, but it only makes sense. You know, patriotism's dying, and you know, nobody wants to go in the military, and I don't blame them because our country's been jacked up. Anyway, that's not this video. Next year I expect you guys to be there because we will be back. So we went and did that, and I'm like, all right, we can at least go to Pennsylvania and do these Celebrate Recoveries I've got. I can speak there. Man, he's going to turn around. Nuck, we don't want to see your butt. You might have to watch his butt for a minute. So anyway, we made it to Pennsylvania. I got a hotel for us for 3 days. That way he could rest. You know, a service dog's supposed to have 16 hours of sleep, or a regular dog's supposed to have 16 hours of sleep a day. A service dog, he gets whatever I get. And when we're on the road huffing it like this, I mean, it's hard on them. So we got a hotel, and I started figuring out that the trailer's busted. There's no way I can get to our next big stop, which is in South Carolina. And it's like, there's no way to make it down there. So I let them know I wasn't going to make it, and it's like, what am I going to do for this week now that I have waiting to go to Michigan for our next stop? And last year, you know, God called me to go to New York, and we're literally right here by it. And if you remember, Arlene, the win-a-date, lives in New Jersey. And it was like, okay, well, at least after Pennsylvania, need to run up to New Jersey and meet Arlene and honor the win-a-date. You know, the charity win-a-date, you know, spend the day with her and do that. And I was like, but I can't really afford no more hotels up there and stuff. And I was like, okay. And I was riding around yesterday in the back, whatever, of Pennsylvania. I was like, okay, God, if I need to, I'll just buy a tent and I'll go to New York and I'll sleep in a tent. I'll get a sleeping bag or whatever. We'll do that. And I come around a corner and there was freaking tents in this person's yard set up, and it said $45 for one, and then there was like 2 smaller ones for and I got out and I was like, okay, are you kidding me? Like, literally, I was like, all right, I guess we're buying a tent on the side of the road. And I liked this little green one. It matched us and everything, and it was like $25, nice brand new thing. I mean, a brand new, nice matching tent, $25 on the side of the road. And I pulled my wallet out, and I had a couple ones and a $100 bill, and I didn't have no change. I couldn't find nobody around. And I was like, all right, well, I'll just run up the road to the gas station. And I'm in the middle of Amish country, so there is no gas station right up the road. And I'm like arguing with God. I'm like, well, maybe I'm not supposed to go. And he's like, no, you're supposed to go. I'm like, all right, well, I will get change and I'll go get this tent tomorrow morning. That's what I was saying. And then I text Arlene and I told her, I was like, you know, hey, I want to come up there and honor the win-a-date. I'm going to get a tent and camp up there and stuff, and I need to be back in Michigan by the 6th. No later than the 6th, but I got to go and get my trailer, and I got to put the axle on it and all that stuff. And she says, well, I've got an apartment here that's open free until the 6th, and somebody's coming in on the 7th, and you're more than welcome to come up here and stay for free. So, again, long story, long, not really short, but back a year and a half ago, whenever I got this idea to do a win-a-date, it's gotten us to this point here of where I'm going up to New Jersey to honor this win-a-date and stay for a couple days, and on a trip where I left with $90. Now, I did pay all my bills ahead of time and, bought all my merch. I brought a crap ton of merch. But where's my merch at? I can't even carry that with me now when I go to these different events. I just ask God to be like, look, if this is yours, just provide a way. And now I have money in the bank. I have cash in my pocket. And I have a free place to stay in New Jersey as a home base where I can go out from there and go to meetings and stuff and share my testimony. I've already got it set up where I'm going to be going to a recovery residence and stuff. And then, I was called to go to New York, and I didn't know it'd be this direction. It's just like, I was called to share the gospel of Christ and love of Jesus at a young age, but I didn't realize it was going to be through a dog. So, that's where we're at. It's crazy. I mean, again, who leaves for a month-long trip, through whatever many states with $90 in their wallet? I don't understand why everything has happened the way that it does, other than each and every little thing, every little step has been orchestrated. I mean, to even who showed up last night in the middle of probably the smallest meeting we'll go to in Ephrata, Pennsylvania, and normally, just not many people, but someone special came in that I'm going to be praying for. And I believe, I don't know if that's the reason for, that's not the only reason for this whole trip, because we're still going and he's still making ways and providing. So, I don't know. I think the longer that we go on this trip, the more I'll see how he was at work further back than a year and a half ago. Right now I can pinpoint like a year and a half ago when he put something in play and in works to get us to the point of where we will be at for the next several days. So, I know the harvest is ripe. There's a lot of hurting people around. I've been there myself, addicted to fentanyl, wanting to kill myself, but I figured out there's a different way, and that's all I want to do is just tell people about it. And he's given me a way and an avenue to do that through a dog, and that's why you guys are here. So thank you guys for watching. Keep praying for our missions. If you want, you can go online, knuckleheadedadventures.com. You can order some of our merch. As soon as I get back, I'll send it out. We are a one-man dog show. I do make all our, I don't have Knucklehead merch on today, but go on there, check it out. I'll get it to you. There's a donation spot. You can do that too if you want, or if you're led to do that. But really what I want you guys to do is just be praying for this, that each step continues to be what he wants us to do, that our motorcycle holds up. The check engine light came on in the middle of the parade, and now it's not wanting to start in the mornings. It's acting like it's low cold start, and it's got a brand new battery on there. So we're going to get up out of here. We're going to go spread some love. I want you guys to do that too. Keep praying. Thank you guys. Share this video. Help us blow our YouTube up, because if we get this thing kicking, we can be completely self-sufficient without having to be worried about leaving with $90. But again, where's the adventure in that? Right, buddy? So yeah, love you guys. We're going to get out of here. Go ride some motorcycles. Give me sugars. Yeah, he's ready to hear her motorcycle time. So yeah, spread some love wherever you're at. Love you guys. Peace.
Bike, hike, camp, be a knucklehead like a champ. Yeah. be part of the